I'm gonna be showing y'all how to improve your UI from looking like this to this on Roblox Studio. Let's get right into this. So in my previous tutorial videos where I showed y'all how to make GUI, I made GUI such as this right here, which is pretty buttons, and then I improved it to this right here, which is a lot better, but it's still not really what we're looking for. So I'm gonna take it a step farther and show y'all how to make it even better than that. So for this tutorial, we are gonna be using Photoshop. In my previous videos, I did use Pixlr E, which you can still use that if you want to. You can use Pixlr E, which is much cheaper. You can use Photopea, you can use Photoshop or any other editing thing, but for this video we're just gonna be using Photoshop. So let's go ahead and click new. So first off, we're gonna start off with this little bar right here. So this little bar on the left that displays your currency, we're gonna be making that much better. So let's go over here. We can type in the dimensions. They don't have to be perfect, but let's go 1500 to 500 pixels, click create, and here it is right here. So since it's in Photoshop, you can always like crop it and adjust it. But anyway, let's start with importing a rectangular tool. So here we go. We have our little rectangle right here, and then we can always bevel the edges, which we definitely do want to do. And let's see, how much do we want to bevel them? And I'll bevel them to like right here. Also, by the way, you bevel them by just grabbing this little point on the inside, so we'll do it about right there. Actually, let's do it a bit more. There we go. And now we want to make it look good. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it for the gems right here. So I think I'm just gonna take this design and remake it. So we're gonna go for a green design, which I just went ahead and imported my picture of the vector right here just so we can get the colors aligned. If you want to get these vectors for yourself, there's a bunch of them. I will leave a link to it in the description. You do have to pay for them, but we're just gonna put that right there just for color reference. Anyway, now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna double click on our shape. So let's just click on it like this, and let's just move it to the side. So anyway, we want to go over to gradient overlay. So let's turn this on, and this will just allow us to apply a gradient. So let's go ahead and click on the gradient icon, click on this icon right here, and then let's choose our base color. So let's go and start off with a dark green, not too dark, maybe like right there. And yeah, that looks about good. And now let's add another point in the middle. So let's just go ahead and click on a point like right here, just below it. And now we're just gonna make this pure green. So let's go ahead and drag it all the way up. There we go. And now for this very last point, let's click on it. We're just gonna make this kind of a yellowish green. About right there should be good. And there we go. Look at that. Also, we can drag this along here, and we can place our gradient however we want it, just so we can adjust it. So if we want like barely any darkness, we move it down there. If we want a lot of darkness, we move it up here. But I think about somewhere in the middle is good. Yeah, actually, I don't want this too dark. Let's put it about right there. And now let's make it kind of more yellow. And then I'm gonna add another point up here. So there we go. Let's kind of move it towards there. And I think that's pretty good. Not too much. So let's kind of narrow that down a little bit. And there we go. I moved them around, and I think I'm kind of liking that right there. Yeah, that should be about good. Now let's click OK. And now that we have our gradient, let's go ahead and add another gradient outer stroke. So if you take a look at this on the side, we have our gradient, and then we have another outer stroke that's a gradient, and then we have kind of a drop shadow gradient. It's kind of hard to explain, but anyway, let's go ahead and enable a stroke right here. And once we have this enabled, make sure you click on it, by the way. Let's go to fill type, let's go down to gradient, and now we have a little gradient fill right here. So let's just adjust the colors. We do want these colors darker than the current ones, so let's go kind of a darkish green like that, and then let's fade it into kind of a darkish yellow. And we can always adjust that later, but for now let's just click OK. And then we want to increase the size, so let's go up to size right here, and this one, it kind of does it on the inside. We can choose inside or outside, and I don't know why, but whenever I choose outside, it kind of has like that little black bar right there. But you can always choose inside, or we can actually just do center. Yeah, center works just fine. And there we go. So I think it's somewhere about right there is good. We're going for a more cartoony style, so I think about that should actually be good. And also the gradient is pretty nice as well, because we do want the gradient to be darker than the inside. And now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna do a drop shadow. So let's add a drop shadow. Let's change its opacity to 100%. Let's change its spread to 0, because we don't really want it spread, I believe. And actually no, we want its spread to be 100%. So there we go. Its spread is 100%. So the spread basically just decides how blurred it's gonna be. So if you want to kind of like a drop shadow, then you can change its spread to like 50%, but we're going kind of for like an outline sort of thing. So let's change it to about there. We don't want its size to be too big. We want the size to kind of be the same size as this. So let's just keep that as 0. So spread 100, size 0. Blend mode, let's change that just to normal. And then distance, let's go ahead and move it upwards. So then this will kind of move it down. And ooh, that is a little bit small. So let's go ahead and increase its size, because we kind of want it to match up with the edge. And somewhere around there is good. Here, let's just increase the size a bit more, and we want it to barely be on the edge. And there we go. About 10 is actually working quite nice. Now let's go and change the color. So this one, we can also add a gradient if we wanted to, but I'm just gonna do a solid color. So we want this to kind of be this bottom color right here, but a tad bit darker. So here, let's go ahead and make it green, and then we just want to move it darker, because we do want it to be much darker than that, not too much. So around there is good. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. Actually, a tad bit darker. There we go, awesome. And just like that, this is already looking pretty nice. And now that we have all this down, we can just click OK just like that. And as we can see, we have our shape right here, which looks awesome. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the outer stroke. So right here, as we can see, we have black, and black just makes it stand out from everything else in the game. So we want to add that, but the thing is, we can't just go in here and we can't just add another outer stroke, because if we go over here and let's say we make it black, as we can see, it doesn't include the drop shadow, which is what we don't want. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click this, we're gonna click convert to smart object, and now we can see it's just one big item. But if you still want to edit it, that's still okay, because what you can do is you can go to the icon, so like the little icon right here, just double click it, and then it will bring you to this screen. And as we can see, we can still click on it like this, and we can still edit all the effects if we want to. So don't even worry about that. As we can see, it does all the things on the side, so it's still edible. But what we're gonna do over here is we're now gonna double click this, and now we're gonna go to stroke. So let's turn on stroke, make sure we click on it. We're gonna change it to a solid color, and now what we want to do is we want to change the position to outside, because if you change it to inside, it kind of covers up the drop shadow that we added. If you change it to center, then it kind of halfway covers it up. So we want it to be on the outside just like this. And now we can change the size, so let's make it kind of thick. I think about right there is good. Yeah, that looks about awesome. And there we go. Now we have our little bar that matches the colors. And now for this item, it's pretty much the same thing. We can just double click on it like this. We can go ahead and add our stroke, and I'm not really gonna add too much to that. And let's go ahead and expand the side actually. So let's just expand it just like this. Let's click Control minus just so we can zoom out a bit, because we are way too zoomed in. And now we can always grab this. I usually add this part in like 2 separate items on Roblox Studio, but if you want to, you can add them both here, which I'm actually not gonna do just because I like adding them separately on Roblox Studio. So we'll just go ahead and hide that for now. And now let's go ahead and click crop, and let's just crop it to this size. So we can just crop it to size. It doesn't have to be perfect, because most of this won't even be important. So there we go. Let's just crop it like right there, and that should be about good. Once again, doesn't have to be perfect. And then we have our background right there. Also, if you want multiple tabs, it's just as easy. Like let's say we want this but for coins, so we want it to be yellow. We can just click Control C, Control V, and then we have a new one right here. Let's just go ahead and hide that background. So now we can just double click on the image, double click on this, and then we can easily just change the colors. So I'll show you all how quick it is. Here, let's go over here. Let's make this orange. Let's make this solid yellow. Go up here. Let's make this one yellow as well, just so it's not like some sort of green. Let's move both of these up. Let's click OK. Now let's go over to the stroke gradient. Let's change this from a dark orangish red all the way up to a regular orange, which actually let's make that more yellow. Now let's click OK. Now let's go down to the drop shadow, and for this color, let's just go ahead and make it a dark orange, darker than that, because we want it to pop out. And there we go. Let's click OK. Let's go back over to a regular image, and oh, we actually forgot to click Control S. So click Control S to save it. There we go. And now if we go back over to the regular image, boom, just like that, we already have another bar. And that took less than a minute. That took me like 30 seconds to change all the colors, and look how good that is. So just like that, we have 2 different colors just like that, and we can toss both of those in the game. Anyway, now that we have those, let's go ahead and make this pop-up screen. So basically what this pop-up screen is, it's for whenever the player presses this button. So the plus icon, most games have it so where you can buy currency. So that's basically what we're doing. They're gonna click this button, then the screen will pop up for them to buy currency. So let's go ahead and remake it. So let's click File, New, and then for this, it doesn't even matter. Let's just start off with 800. Well, actually, let's do like 2000. 2000 by 1000. Once again, doesn't matter at all because we can easily crop it. Just make sure it's somewhat high just so it doesn't turn out pixelated. But anyway, let's just start off with the title. So the title right here, gems. And just to make it a bit more interesting, we're actually going to change that to crystals. So let's go over here, click on the text tool, go ahead and click anywhere, and then go ahead and type in your thing. So crystals. And as we can see, we don't want this font. So let's just go and double click this to highlight it, and then click on the little drop down menu, and then select any font. So what most games do is they choose like Luckiest Sky font. This is very popular, but just for this, I'm actually going to do Clash Bold. So Clash Bold, this is the same font they use in like Clash Royale and Clash of Clans. So I went ahead and downloaded it, so we're going to use this right here. Also, this isn't automatically down here. You do have to install this font, but we're just going to use this. Now let's go ahead and grab it. Anyway, I do want this to be a tad bit bigger, so let's go and change it to like 300, and there we go. Now we have this right here, and now it's pretty much the same thing what we did before. We're going to go ahead and double click it. We're going to go ahead and add our gradient overlay, and it automatically puts in the last one you have, but I do want this to be the green one. So let's go and change it, and once again, it's pretty much the exact same thing what we did to the other one. And just like that, we already have it done. So let's go and click OK, and of course, I do want the black outline once again. So let's go and right click it, convert to smart object, and now let's just go ahead and double click it again, add our black outer stroke. Let's go and change it to outside, change this to solid color, which is black, and now we can go ahead and change the size. And about right there is good. Once again, the exact same thing we did before, but now just for the crystals thing, which if you want, you can go ahead and export this. I believe I have this one in its own separate tab. Yep, I do, just like that. But anyway, look at this and look at this. Look at how much better that is already. Fonts are very important in how you scale things. So if you look at this, the font is kind of mid, and also the size of like the drop shadow and all that, not too good. But if you take a look at this is already much better. And also the awesome thing about this is we can easily just change the words. So let's go and click Control C, Control V, just so we make a new copy. So let's say we no longer like the name crystals and we want it to be gems. We can go ahead and double click on this just to go over to the text layer. And now let's double click this and let's go ahead and change it to gems. So we can type in gems just like that. And we can also crop it as well just to make sure it's cropped down to size. And there we go, it kind of snaps to the edges. And then remember to click Control S. Control S will save it. And now if we go back over here, as we can see, it's gems. So gems just like that, so we don't have to do it all over again. We can just easily retype it, which that is what I love. And then we can change it to coins or whatever we need, and then we can change the size. And yeah, it's just super awesome to use. Anyway, let's go and work on the rest of this. So let's go and work on the little box we have, which we can do multiple designs. There's multiple designs we can choose for the box. I might do the same one, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, let's just go and make this a bit bigger, and then let's click Control minus just to zoom out a bit. We can always change the size of this, but I think this should be a good size for now. Anyway, let's go down to shapes and let's go ahead and add in a little box. So we don't need one too big, maybe around that size is good. And let's see, we do have to think of these shapes for these, if we want them more rectangular or if we want them more square. And also you can change this depending on if you want a scroll down menu. I don't think I'm gonna do a scroll down menu for these, so I think I'll just stick with this box right here. Also, we can go ahead and drag the crystals thing above this layer just so we can go ahead and layer it above it just like that, and that is looking good. Now let's go and double click on this and let's think of a quick design, which of course we are going to do a gradient overlay for now. The inside is just gonna be pretty gray, which actually let's make it bluish gray just to add a bit more color. This is what a lot of developers do, just to add a bit more color to their game. And there we go, look at how much better that is. So you can tell this is kind of a bluish gray rather than like a regular gray like this, because look how plain that looks. So definitely add kind of a blue to your grays and blue to your blacks, just because it makes them a bit better. Anyway, since this is crystals, we do kind of want to keep the same look. I think I might add a pattern on the inside, but we'll do that later, kind of like how this one has a square pattern. That square pattern is not too good, not gonna lie. But anyway, let's go ahead and add a outer stroke, and let's go ahead and increase the size of this a bit. And now let's go ahead and change it to gradient, because we do kind of want to keep the same green feel to it, just so it sticks out from everything else. Let's change the things to center just like that, and then we can kind of keep the same colors. I will change the colors a tad bit. Anyway, let's go ahead and start off by increasing the size of this, so about right there is good, and it is looking a little dark. So let's go over here, let's just go ahead and change up these colors. So let's add in just a pure green color right there. Let's change the end to kind of a yellowish green. There we go. Let's move this down. Let's move this one down as well. And then at the very end, let's go ahead and add in a little white tint just for a little glow. And there we go. That's looking pretty nice. Let's click OK. Now let's go ahead and add a drop shadow, of course. Let's increase our distance of the drop shadow. And we do also want to change the color because it is looking a tad bit too dark for us. And then of course we can increase the size of it as well, just like how we did before. And alright, that's looking pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and click OK for now, and let's just move everything up a little bit just to make it a tad bit easier to see. And now I'm actually gonna add a bevel to the inside, which it looks like it does it based on the outer edges. Like if you take a look at this, it kind of cuts into it. So I think I will change this to outside. So yeah, I'll change that to outside for now. That means I do have to change the drop shadow a tad bit more and the size of it, but that's okay. And there we go. Now if we go to the bevel, we can add a little bevel on the inside, and let's go ahead and see how we want this. So we do want it to be an inner bevel. We can also change the depth of it, which before we change the depth, let's go and change the size. So what do we want the size to be? And I'm not really liking the white and the black, so I think what I'll do is I'll go over here and I'll change this one to kind of a lighter blue, and let's try kind of a purple for this one. Wish that lighter blue is a bit too light here. Let's go and change this like around there-ish, because we do need it to be a bit brighter. And then the bottom one will stay purple, and actually let's make this more of a turquoise. How does green look? Green looks decent. Let's make it a bit more white, but let's make it a bit more turquoise. There we go. Now we can mess around with the opacity. Here, let's change the softness of it. So let's increase the softness quite a bit, also increase the size, and let's see how we like that. So before, after, and yeah, I'm liking that a little bit more. It's not too good, but I mean it fits what we're doing. Direction up, down, and I think I'll keep it like this. And I'm kind of liking that. We can always add a inner glow. Here, let's go ahead and try that. Let's try an inner glow and let's see how this looks. So blend mode, let's change that to normal. Let's change the color to kind of green, and now let's increase the size right here. So this has a more inner glow to it, and I kind of like that. What does choke do? And okay, so choke is kind of like the softness of it, and I think I kind of like that more because crystals kind of glow. So it's either inner glow or bevel. So I think I'm gonna go with an inner glow, and then we can change the opacity. I'm gonna kind of keep the opacity somewhat low, but I do like the glow a lot, so we'll keep it like that. Now let's go and right click it. Let's click convert to smart object, and now let's go and add our outline. So double click. Let's go and change this to a solid color black. Let's go ahead and change the stroke so it matches the text. You do want the stroke to match the same stroke as the text, because look at this. If you have a bit bigger, it kind of makes the text look a little bit off just because it's not the same. A bit smaller, the text kind of does look a little bit off. It doesn't need to be perfect, but kind of the same stroke size. There we go. And looking at it down here, we do have a bit of a problem. So let's go and zoom in on that. As we can see, it's kind of unlined a little bit. So let's go and double click on this, and let's go and change that up. So that is the drop shadow. The problem is the drop shadow needs to be a tad bit bigger. And there we go. I think 44 is the perfect number. So let's click OK. Let's click Control S to save it. And now let's go ahead and check it out. And there we go. That's already looking much smoother. And there we go. Now that is looking pretty nice. Now let's go ahead and add the buttons in. I think I'm going to do 3 buttons up top and then 2 on the bottom. So there we go. Let's go ahead and change the bevel because we don't want these ones beveled as much. And now let's just make sure we can fit 3 in there, which actually we can always change the size later. So here we go. We have the little square. Now I'm just going to make this one green just like the text. And there we go. Now we have our little box, and I'm going to make these kind of like buttons. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Anyway, let's go ahead and convert this to a smart object. Now let's go ahead and add our outline. And there we go. Now we have our little box. Also, by the way, you do need to export the boxes separately. So like this little box right here, it needs to be exported as a separate image just so you can actually click them. Because if you look at this, we wouldn't be able to click them if they were all the same image. So just keep that in mind. So what we'll do is we'll actually hide that for now, and then we'll export this. So there we go. I went ahead and exported both of those things. Now let's just go ahead and increase the size again real quick. There we go. And now let's go and grab our little box. So this is what we're going to focus on. Let's go ahead and crop it down just so it fits. Sometimes it kind of snaps to it, which that can help you crop it. But anyway, let's just crop it real small. Actually, let's increase the size because we don't want it to be cropped too small or else it'll turn out pixelated. So let's just quickly increase the size of it. And let's also add our image. So for this one, it's going to be 3 gems. 3 gems inside here, which of course we do want our black stroke added, which actually let's go ahead and grab these gems and let's actually just move them to the smart object. So double click on your rectangle, move them to the smart object over here, just because this will make it a little bit easier for what we're doing later on. So let's just go transform, scale, and let's just scale these down a little bit just so they fit inside there. So there we go. About right there is good. Maybe a bit higher. Click Control S, and awesome. So we're just having them inside there just because it will make it easier for what we're doing later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 buttons. So let's go over here and let's just quickly copy and paste this one just because I think this will make it a bit easier. So now go ahead and double click on this image and go down to the rectangle and remove the drop shadow. So remove the drop shadow, click Control S, and now if we go back over here, as we can see, we have one with the drop shadow and we have one without the drop shadow. So go ahead and grab the one without the drop shadow and go ahead and move it down so it's like in the same spot. So it's at like the bottom of the one with the drop shadow, and just move it down so it covers the drop shadow, and make sure you don't move left or right at all. So there we go. Now we have this one, and then we have this one down here. So basically we have the one with the drop shadow and then one without the drop shadow. And what this will do is it will kind of make a button effect. So whenever we hover over this one, it will transform into this image and it will kind of make it look like we're pushing down a button. And I'll just bring it to Roblox Studio to show y'all real quick. So let's go to Roblox Studio and let's just go make a new screen GUI, and let's just name this one Crystal GUI, just like that. Now let's go ahead and add in an image label. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and add in all the other stuff later. For now, we'll just do the button. So let's go ahead and add in an image button just like this. We can go ahead and scale it up. And now let's scroll down. So right here, we have image and then hover image. So go ahead and click on image and add in your image. So add in the image with the drop shadow, and then we'll go to hover image and add the one without the drop shadow, and then click OK. And now we of course want to go ahead and remove the background. So let's go background transparency, change that all the way up. And actually, I just realized I exported them as JPEGs, but I want to export them as PNGs just so the background is transparent. Also, make sure the background is turned off just so the background is transparent whenever you export as a PNG. Export as, change this to PNG, and there we go, the background is transparent. And now let's go ahead and replace these images. And there we go, we have both images with a transparent background. Also, make sure to change background transparency all the way to 1 just so it's transparent. And here we go, now we have our button, and look at this. Every time we hover over it, it looks like we're clicking down a button. So that is a cool effect we can do. There might be a way to like do this inside Roblox Studio, but this is just the easiest way I find it, and it's super cool. So now we're just gonna do this with all the buttons. So pretty much just keep this same design, just go over to the image, and then just place down a new image for your gem. So right here we have a new image, and now we're just gonna keep doing this. And just like that, we now have have all of our GUI, so I did with all buttons. I was actually only gonna add 2 buttons down here and make them like 1.5 times as big, but this was easier, so I just decided to go like this. Also, I did add in the box in the title and all that good stuff, and if you want to, you can go back over here, and of course you can go ahead and add in the bar. I didn't right now, but of course you can go ahead and add that in on the side along with the little crystal icon. And I didn't do it in this video, but make sure to add a little plus button. So similar to this one, just make sure to add a little plus button just so the player can click that, and then this screen will pop up. Also, I'm not too sure where I want to place the title. I think I might just place it right here. I did export it as a different layer, so I can always make it bigger or smaller, or I could like add a script to make it increase and decrease size. I could always put it above. Not too sure how I like that. I kind of do, but I also kind of don't. But I'll just go ahead and leave it like kind of in the middle for now, and then just arrange my buttons kind of in the middle like that. And look at that. That is actually looking pretty nice, and it's super easy. And once you do this once, it's a lot easier to do with all the other buttons in the game, because we have crystals right here, and as I showed you earlier with this one, you can easily change the colors in just a few seconds. So you can just go over here, change all the colors of these buttons, and then you could have another one of these in just a few seconds. And also, I showed you how to do the button looking things as well. So look at this. Look at how much better this is. The player can easily tell which one they're hovering over just because it works kind of like a button. So button, and then of course all of these are image buttons as well, so the player can go ahead and click on them. And as we see, we can click on them just like that, and then they have a little animation. So a little animation without using any scripts or any methods, just a little hover image, which looks awesome. And of course, you can do this in different ways. You can make the button expand, rotate, or do whatever you want, but I kind of like the look of the button just being pressed down whenever we go ahead and buy it. Anyway, if this helped you out, or if you want more UI tutorials, please let me know in the comments down below. I can do like inventory UI, pet inventory, backpack space, all that other stuff. Just let me know and I'll do it, and I'll check it out. I'll also improve my techniques. Like right now I'm just using images and stuff, but I'll get into the details on how to do it inside Roblox Studio as well. But anyway, that's gonna be all for this video though, so make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, and I'll see y'all in the next video.